Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I am glad you are here today. If you're a new watcher of this channel, please push the subscribe button and there's a little bell. If you poke that, every time I have a new video, you'll be sent a notification so you don't miss any of these stories or any of the other things that I do on this channel. I have lots of things that I do on this channel, whether it is homesteading stuff or seeing places when I'm off the homestead, fun with my dogs, my fish tanks, all sorts of things. So, and please subscribe. So if you know of anybody else that would be interested in this type of story or any of the other parts of my channel, please share this with them on your Facebook or any of your social media and help my channel grow. Okay, so yesterday they began fighting. They were fighting the fire, and DJ and the preacher went up to get his grandpa, and DJ wasn't sure he would even come. But when the preacher told him he could stay at his house and that his wife and sister daughter would be cooking really yummy meals for him, he was ready to go. So that's good. Now they're headed down the mountain. On the drive into town, smoke began seeping into the sedan. That means even with the windows rolled up, through all the little cracks where the doors are and stuff, little bits of smoke were squeezing through that. So that means it was super smoky. Grandpa sat in the front passenger seat and rubbed his eyes. Preacher, I gotta tell you plain, I don't like fighting with nothing I can't lick fair and square. That includes old Nick himself. Now, when he's calling Nick, he's talking about Satan and whoever is set in those fires. You've been wrestling with the devil, Mr. Dillon? The big man rumbled, steering the car along the narrow mountain road. I lived most of my life in a plain old sinner, and I can't complain none that old Nick won't let me go. That means the devil. Kind of flatters a fellow to know that even an old reprobate like me has got some good in him, and the Lord done seen fit to give me a chance to finish my days in his service. But like today when I lost my temper, I knew Lucifer was still a dog in my steps. That means following right after him. You want some help, do you, Mr. Dillon? Could use a hand, I reckon. Brother Paul, you see, I've been studying next Sunday's lesson about the gifts of God, and I'm having a real tussle about it. DJ leaned against the back of the front seat so his head was between the two men. How so, Grandpa? Well, now, I've lived a passel of years, a lot of years, and I can't say I've ever seen that I have any gift. The giant's chest lifted as he took a deep breath. Mr. Dillon, the scriptures say plainly that God gives gifts to men. I believe that includes all men. Well, Brother Paul, I can see you've got a gift of exhortation. It's plain to see my grandson's got a gift of teaching. DJ interrupted. Teaching? I'm no teacher. Don't plan to ever be one either. I'm going to be a writer. Don't rightly mean you can't do writing, DJ, Grandpa continued. But I've read your newspaper stories. I've read what you wrote in your notepad. Now, you may think you're just plain writing, but I say that everything you put down on that paper is teaching. Ain't that right, Mr. Preacher? DJ was so surprised he waited for Brother Paul to answer. Had it rightly thought about it that way, Mr. Dillon. But you might be 100% correct. A good writer teaches people something just like Jesus did in the parables. DJ blinked in surprise. Then he frowned. Well, if God gave me the gift of teaching, how come I can't teach that little red hound anything? And especially with help from Alfred? Paul was thoughtful a minute. Maybe you two boys taught that pup more than you know. Like what? Well, before the Lord called me to serve him, I was a hound dog man. I learned that now and then a dog is teaching you. Only humans are mighty slow in understanding the lesson. DJ didn't know what to say, so he leaned back while Brother Paul turned to Grandpa and began asking questions to help discover his spiritual gifts. Suddenly, the boy leaned forward again. Does God give gifts to animals too? Well, let's see. The big man's deep bass voice vibrated pleasantly against the boy's ears. The Bible says God made everything, including the animals. Everything he made was good, and he made everything for his own purpose. So it seems to me it's logical God gave gifts to his animals too, DJ mused. Then if God gave gifts to everybody, and he made animals and gave them special things to do, why did that Dooger dog get left out in the cold when it comes to trailing? What good is a hound with no nose? You mean that dog never trailed anything? Paul asked. No, not one thing. Well, I'll take that back. Once he was trailing me, but he found my friend's little brother instead. Well now, Grandpa said, don't that beat all? Now, Mr. Preacher, if you was to help me find my spiritual gift, I'm scared I might not want to use it, because sure as I do, old Nick is going to be hassling me again, and I've already got saddle sores from where he's been riding on my back, trying to get me to backslide. DJ realized Grandpa had unwittingly changed the subject. The topic never got back to DJ's question during the rest of the drive to the lay preacher's home. There, DJ visited while Mrs. Stagg and Kathy a while with them. Then the boy said goodbye to his grandfather and started home. The sun was nearly straight overhead, but it was the blood red from the drifting smoke. It was blood red from the drifting smoke. Have you ever seen when the sun looks red from smoke? I have. It's a strange look. It gave the whole town of Stony Ridge a strange, scary, unearthly look. As he walked up the concrete walkway to the house, DJ whistled for Hero. The little hair-pulling bear dog didn't bark a happy greeting in return. The boy ran back inside the house and into the backyard. Hero's chain laid on the grass. The doghouse was silent. DJ whistled and called in vain. Hero! Hero! He ran into the house through the back door. "Two, Mom, where's my dog?" She looked up from where she was chopping onions. "Why, dear, I don't know." She sniffled from tears that the smell of the onions was causing. "He should be on his chain." "Well, he's not. His collar's there, so he didn't break it. Priscilla, have you seen Hero?" The little girl had been reading in a kitchen chair by the window. She glanced over the top of the book like this. With such a mean look that startled DJ. Pris's lips moved silently, but DJ was sure she said, "I hate you." Aloud she said, "No, I haven't seen your ugly old dog." "I've got to find him," DJ exclaimed, starting out the back door. "DJ, lunch will be ready in a few minutes. Please don't go far." "I won't," he promised. In a little while he returned and flopped heavily into his kitchen chair. "I've whistled and called all over the neighborhood. I've asked people and nobody's seen him. I just can't understand how he got loose or where he went." "I'm sure he'll be home soon, dear. Now please wash up for lunch. Priscilla, you too." Yeah, and I got grass all over me. That was from when I was checking the eggs. "Well, um, I'm not hungry too, Mom. I'm worried about Hero. DJ said he'd like to go ask Alfred if maybe Dooger could find Hero's trail. Two Mom gave DJ permission but warned, don't be gone long. The radio said that if that fire gets much closer, they may have to evacuate Stony Ridge. Evacuate means everyone will have to leave for, for safe to get to a safe place." DJ stopped in the doorway. "You mean everybody in this town just goes away and leaves it to the fire?" "Better to leave it to burn with everything, dear. If they do order an evacuation, you better know what you must take and what you'll leave behind. It'll be only what we can carry in your father's pickup." For the first time, the full danger of the fire was real to DJ. It was no longer a blaze in the mountain, scaring them with thickening smoke and darkening the sky with ice-smarting particles, means major ice sting. The fire was a menace, threatening to destroy everything in Stony Ridge. Alfred's mother wasn't too happy about DJ's request, but she finally agreed. "Oh, I suppose it's all right for an hour, but no more. And you boys stay away from that fire, you hear?" Alfred said, "I'll get my hat. Then we'll get Dooger and take him down to your place to start the trail." He ran down the hallway towards his bedroom. Tag came silently from the hallway and handed DJ a piece of paper. "You asked me to draw you something," the little boy said with a sniff. "Here." DJ glanced at the crayon drawing, but really didn't see what was there. He knelt to be on eye level with Tag. "Why, thank you, Tag. What is it about?" "It's a secret." He sniffed again. "See if you can figure it out, like a mystery clue." Excuse me. "Hey, you've been crying." DJ stuck the drawing in his hip pocket and looked closely at Tag. The little boy's chin quivered. "Mommy spanked me." Mrs. Milford looked up from where she was washing dishes. "And for good reason, too. He was playing with matches." "I found them," Tag said. "No, I found them in his room," Mrs. Milford replied. "I've got a whole box just like them right here in this kitchen. So I paddled him for telling me an untruth as well as for playing with matches." "Tag, where'd you find these?" DJ whispered so Mrs. Milford wouldn't hear. "In the woods." He pointed toward the back of the Milford property where they cleared an area of a stand of trees. DJ didn't know what to say. He didn't want to not believe the boy, but Tag interrupted DJ's thoughts. "I'm going to run away," he whispered. No tag, DJ hissed firmly, just as Alfred ran back into the room. Okay, DJ, let's go. Mrs. Milford called. Remember, they're talking about evacuating the town. You boys stay close and don't do anything foolish. DJ and Alfred promised. They ran back out the door and down the steps. Alfred bent and attached Dooger's leash. The red hound yawned and flopped his huge ears, but he didn't show any special interest in going anywhere. As the boys hurried across the town, smoke stung their eyes, and they coughed a little. The yellow air tankers with their high tails were crisscrossing the sky, so they're going this way and that way. Two going and two coming at all times. The distant sound of huge track-laying tractors was growing louder. Big tanker trucks lumbered up the mountain, which was now a solid sheet of flame. Getting worse every minute, Alfred said. Nobody's in the stores but old men and women. All the men who are able to work have gone to fight the fire. I've never heard of evacuating a whole town before, DJ panted, trying not to cough from the smoke. Where would we go? They have people in charge of that, but my mother says the main thing is that if we abandon this town, we give everything to the fire. The mill, Dad's job, our house, your house, the stores, the school, everything. I don't think it'll happen, DJ said, nearing his house. It'll turn out okay. I sure hope you're right, DJ. It wouldn't have happened if we had caught the firebug. Not your fault or mine, but unless he's caught, even if this town burns and the mill and everything, he'll be free to start another fire someplace else. Maybe even where we move, because there'll be nothing left here in Stony Ridge for anybody. Two Mom was waiting when the boys entered the backyard to give Dooger a start to the trail. DJ, could you come here a moment, please? Can't right now. I've got to hurry to find Hero before the fire gets worse. I must speak to you a moment, DJ. Two Mom. Very well. I'll tell you in front of your friend, though I'm ashamed. Tell me what? Priscilla confessed that she turned your dog loose. DJ was too surprised to answer. He stood by Hero's doghouse and stared at Two Mom. Alfred spoke up. Did she say where Hero might be? Yes. As a matter of fact, she did. She pointed to the canyon lined with conifers between the Dillon house and the high mountain where the fire raged. She took him to a little open spot over there and turned him loose. He tried to follow her, but she made him stay. When she saw him last, Hero was sitting there. DJ felt a rush of anger sweep over him, causing the wave of heat that seemed to burn like fire. Have you ever been so mad that your face felt hot? That's what DJ's feeling. I've got to talk to her. I've got to know exactly where she left him before the fire cuts Hero off. He started to run towards the house, but Two Mom stopped him. DJ, you're upset. You'll say things you might regret. I've grounded her, and she has to stay in her room today. Couldn't she just come out long enough to show me exactly where she last saw my dog? I guess so. Just a moment. When Two Mom had gone back to the house, Alfred shook his head. Little kids can be such a problem. Sure can. DJ looked towards the mountain and felt sick, thinking about Hero being out there somewhere. Alfred asked, You know what kind of You know what that kid brother of mine threatened to do? What? Run away because he was punished for playing with matches. Said he didn't do it and he was going to tell our father because Mom spanked him when he didn't deserve it. DJ felt a strange uneasiness sweeping over him. Tag also told me he was going to run away. Both boys looked at each other a moment. Alfred pushed up his glasses. I thought he was joking, but if he told you too. Mom ran out the back porch and onto the 2 steps. DJ, she's gone. She left this. She held out a note. Both boys ran to her. DJ seized the paper and read out loud, Dear Mom, it's my fault Hero could be killed in the fire. I've gone to find him. Love, Pris. Oh, man. That's very dangerous. Now what are they going to do? I'm not sure, but that was the end of chapter 9. So that's where we end for today. Tomorrow, we'll be reading chapter 10, Race Against Time and Fire. So I'm guessing they're headed out to look for Pris and for Hero. And they're sure going to be hoping that Tag doesn't take off too. This is no time for those little kids to be out in the woods. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's chapter. And I hope you'll be back tomorrow. I want to remind you I love you. I really do. But even more than that, God loves you. And He always will. So I'll be reading to you again tomorrow. And we'll be talking just a little bit. Have a good night or a good day. I'm not sure what time you're watching this. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Good night.